Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos. Your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another DABCC Radio. We have a really great show for you today. We have a fun show. We have a guest host, basically. So an old buddy of mine, José from Citrix, messaged me and said, "Hey, you ready for another podcast? I got some great stuff to talk about." And I was like, I saw his name. I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I read the great stuff to talk about, and it's like, okay, great. And he's recently moved, he's been promoted. I'll let him talk about that. But he's in the government space within Citrix. And so we also brought on Manoj, who's one of our government guys at IGEL. And I'm not much for the government in the sense of, I don't know a lot about working with the government. I've always been more the independent guy, or when I was at Citrix, I was a channel guy and worked with big customers, small customers, medium-sized customers, but not a lot of government. So, and nowadays it's a dedicated space within itself, right? If you're a government guy, you know exactly what I mean. So, brought Manoj on, one, to get the IGEL view, his expert opinions on working with the government and how technologies like these help with government. And I just sort of took a step back, and I've always said a good host knows when to step up and knows when to get out of the way. And I don't know if I'm a good host, but over the years I've learned how to get out of the way. So it's a fun episode. Basically, Manoj interviews José, and José interviews Manoj, and every now and then I pipe up and ruin it all. So although I will say Manoj has to dip out at the middle of the podcast, closer to the end, and I tell you, I had so much fun listening. I was out of my game, and I didn't know what to ask José. So it's a great, interesting interview. We learn a lot about what's going on with Citrix in the government space. We learn a lot just in general, IGEL stuff, Citrix stuff. What do I say? It's a lot of fun to listen to. It was a lot of fun to record, and for me, a lot of fun to listen to. So with no further ado, let's just dive into it. Here's my interview with Manoj and José. Okay, thank you guys so much for taking the time. I love talking to José, and Manoj is new. I'm not new. I've known him for a while, but we haven't done a podcast together. José and I did one, about 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
But remember, we had so much fun. If you guys, it was a fun podcast. So we chatted for 45 minutes, and now we need to get to this. So it ought to be fun. Okay, so what are we? Well, I'm sidetracked, so let's just get to this thing. First question is always, who are you? Let's start with Manoj. Manoj, who are you, and what do you do?
Hey, this is Manoj Thomas, and I've known Doug and Jose for a long time. So I work at IGEL. I manage the federal business here at IGEL. A little bit of background as far as who I am and where I've been in the past is I started in the tech space in Long Island, New York, a long time ago. I don't know if you guys remember Microsoft Small Business Server.
Oh my God. God.
That was my intro into this server-based computing way back in the day. And I had just gotten out of college. So I worked for a small reseller of VAR, and that was my first intro into this. And I've never left that space. So I've been doing this for about 20 years, with early days of Citrix and before VMware was around. And so excited to be on this podcast. Again, I focus primarily on the federal government business here, which is what I've done for the past probably 17, 18 years. So excited to be here, guys.
Hey, thank you for joining. I'm not so happy you brought up SPS, because the thing was anybody that's out there that's listening that knows Small Business Server, I started, I think, with 4.0, and it still had Exchange 5.5 on it, which had an open relay system. And you couldn't turn it off, and oh my Lord, that was the thorn of my existence if there ever was one.
And it was funny, right? I got my MCSE certification, and the guy that hired me said, "Hey, listen, go in the lab. Here's some CDs, install, and figure out how to use this stuff." right?
Yeah.
So that was it. That was how I started.
Well, that's I was the kid, and it was the same time, and I was the kid in the consulting company, and they're like, because you sold tons of that stuff. It was all, it was a great it was, the idea was phenomenal, right? Put all the stuff in one box, click, next, finish, you got the whole stack, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't all work that well, and sticking it on one box that wasn't very powerful in those days, and oh my Lord.
And I think there was a limit of 25 max users, right? I think.
Yeah, very good, very good. I forgot that. You're correct. But most companies that we're deploying to, and like the SMB that we're doing, that was fine.
Yeah, it was great. That's how I started, right? I'd go around Long Island to small businesses and try to help them set it up, and it was perfect for that small scenario, right?
Ah, SBS. We don't want to go down that pipe. Oh
no, we don't want to. Let's leave it in the past.
Let's get back to government. Jose, who are you and what do you do nowadays? You're over at Citrix, big boy. So
yeah, I'm over at Citrix now. Yeah. So I've been at Citrix now for just a little bit over a year. I've been around Citrix technology since about 2002. I started working at a bank where we had MetaFrame XP is what we were using. So I was a customer way back when, and then I worked at a reseller for a long time. So kind of like Manoj, right? So I was responsible for the Citrix practice there. And then for the past year, I've been a sales engineer supporting Homeland Security, Department of State, and Department of Justice. And as of last week, I accepted a new position within Citrix to manage the federal sales engineering team.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Look at that. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And you just deal with a few small agencies inside the federal government there, too.
Right. Right. Super small, no money, right?
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
right.
Yeah. So if SBS is the thorn of my existence, Citrix is the love of my life, I guess, right? So Citrix is also what got me away from doing that SBS work.
That's good. So Citrix saved you.
Yeah, many ways. So, Jose, why Citrix? I mean, it's sort of a stupid question almost, but can you talk maybe a bit about, you joining Citrix, things like that? You came from an integrator, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so like I kind of mentioned, Citrix has been kind of the focus of my career for a really long time. And, from one perspective, I had been at the reseller for about 8 years, and you reach a point in your career where you're just kind of like, okay, what's next, right? What's my next move up, and what's going to help drive my career forward more? And it just really made sense, just connecting the dots backwards, that Citrix would be kind of the next evolution of my career. So that's one of the reasons, and then the other reason was that right now Citrix is going through a transformation, and so they're trying to do new things, solve different problems for customers, and being here during that transformation was just really interesting to me. So joining Citrix for me was really a no-brainer.
Transformation, can you expand upon that?
Yeah, so when I look at Citrix, so generally Citrix is trying to be a little bit more strategic, right, on how we approach our customers and how we approach our product sets. So if you look at the traditional Citrix customer, the traditional Citrix customer was typically the IT shop within an organization, right? That IT shop needed to deploy desktops or needed to better secure data. They needed to set up some sort of telework solution. And those things are super important, and those are things that need to be done, right? But really now, the way that Citrix is really approaching those sort of issues is we're thinking about it from the top down from an organization. So we're really aligning ourselves more with either from the government perspective, the mission of that agency, and from a commercial perspective, really kind of the business outcomes that organization's trying to accomplish. So when we're approaching conversations with customers, a lot of the things that we're starting to do now are really being driven by the C-level, right? And so those are the conversations that traditionally Citrix has not done, that we're starting to that we're doing now, right? And we've always done some of that, right? But it's, again, speaking in generalizations, the traditional Citrix customer has not been that. Now, as our customers are, and part of that driving that is just our customers are changing. The way that they approach IT is changing. You hear the term, digital transformation being used a lot. And the way that I see it, to me, that's really about better aligning technology with the mission of the agency and providing agility and enabling access and enabling employees. So that's trickling down not only from the way that we talk to our customers, that's actually trickling down to the offerings that we choose to focus on and put a lot of our effort behind.
Okay, Jose. So let's go down the government path, because you're part of the government team, and this is something, believe it or not, I have really not a lot of understanding of. I've never worked with the government, a little bit, but not in the early days when there wasn't a government division, right? A government team. So how does the government see Citrix style solutions, and especially in today's world?
So government has been, almost every single agency in the government has been using Citrix for a long time, or they know Citrix, right? So what's changing in there is how Citrix is solving some of the problems that government is now trying to solve. So when government adopted Citrix many, many years ago, it was primarily telework. So now government's starting to rely on Citrix for other things. So agencies that are going through data center modernization, or they're starting to adopt cloud technology, Citrix actually plugs into that, and not even from a virtualization way, right? So most government, and actually most customers, period, know Citrix as a virtualization company. They don't really think of Citrix as a cloud company, but we really are, right? We power some of the world's biggest clouds. If you have a phone of any sort, chances are that you're leveraging Citrix technology, or there's Citrix technology powering that experience behind the scenes, and you don't know it. Many of the services that everybody uses, right, day to day, rely on Citrix in one way or another, and some of those things have nothing to do with virtualization. So from a government perspective, they're starting to rely on us more and more for cloud. So cloud access, cloud optimization, cloud access, those sort of things. And then there continues to be a big need for telework, especially now with COVID-19. They're thinking of us as one of the primary providers for them for telework sort of solutions. So those are some of the ways that the government kind of thinks of and is adopting Citrix technology within their agencies. Manoj, what are you running into on your side?
I was actually just going to ask.
What I was going to ask is, Manoj, where do you see the IGEL piece fitting
I'm
into
the host
government?
now.
Yeah, we can all do it.
No, I was going to ask Jose a question, but no, that's a great point, right? Good segue. So, and with IGEL, we're a thin client company, but what's different from everybody else and what people are typically used to being if you want a thin client, you have to go buy hardware. We're different in that we're a software-based thin client company, right? So what I've seen and what's worked for me in the federal government is I typically go places where there's already Citrix, right? They've already deployed Citrix, they know how that works, and they are using desktops to get to it, right? So we're trying to add value, saying, hey, and security most importantly, right? Hey, you don't have to patch the Windows machine, you can put a thin client there, but you can take what you already have and repurpose that, right? So that's a story that they've never heard before. On the federal government side, it was always like, I got to get rid of what I have, even though I have a year life left in it, right? I have to get rid of it, and then I have to go buy all new hardware. So which is for us has been a huge benefit for us. But again, Citrix is in the background delivering what the end user needs, and we go sit at the endpoint and make that delivery secure and easy for the IT guys to manage. So on the federal government side, right now with COVID, being exactly what's going on is, typically IGEL's been in the offices, right? So right now it's a little bit slow. They're focused on the back end, but the conversations have not stopped, right? So what I do hear from the government side is, hey, when we're ready to look at the endpoints stuff, we definitely want to have conversations with you. So that's sort of where that is, and I think again we're a big partner of Citrix, right? If there's no Citrix there, then really there's not much of a need for us unless they're doing some web-based stuff, right? So we sort of work hand in hand with Citrix. So, and I think a lot of places that have Citrix typically have thin clients, maybe not IGEL, but that's where we're making that shift. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you bet.
Or respond?
Jose,
Cool.
did it answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And Manoj, I think you brought up a good point there. And COVID-19 has been super disruptive to everybody, right? It's been disruptive to me and the way that I approach customers and the way that the way that I work, right? So it's been very disruptive for me. It's been very disruptive to a lot of my customers. What I've observed with my government customers is that they've been forced to rethink and kind of reshift priorities. So I remember, probably, earlier on this year, just before COVID-19 kind of, it hit the mainstream. I know there were certain things that I was working with my customers on. Those things are on hold, right? Because government customers have been super prioritized on making sure that employees can work from home, that they can stay safe, that the folks that actually, there's still folks that have to go into the office, right? There's classified environments that people need to access. They can't do it from home, so they got to come into the office. So government right now is super focused on making sure that employees are safe, right? So there's just been a complete kind of a shift of priorities within the federal government, and then also from there's some agencies out there that are completely like fee-based agencies, right? That rely on travel, for example. So those agencies are hit really hard, kind of from a budget perspective. So what I'm seeing, on the disruption side is I'm seeing the shift of priorities, and I'm also seeing kind of the budgets being affected. So it's just very tough right now for federal customers to really focus on the future, right? They're really focused right now on the immediate, which is COVID-19, employees, and then what happens for the next 6, 7, 8, 12 months down the line, and how am I going to continue to support my mission in this new normal that we're in.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing on the IGEL piece, right? It's a lot of answers that I get are, oh, it's COVID, we don't know what's happening, right? And a lot of we've had a ton of POCs going, and I use the word, they've been paused. They haven't stopped, they've been paused because like Jose said, some of my best use cases are in classified environments, right? And a lot of these guys just can't go back into the office. So for them to do a true POC, they can't do it unless they're in the office. So they're trying to do stuff from home, but it's not quite, real world scenario. So a lot of my POCs have paused for now. And some of these guys are only able to go once or twice a week into the office, and they have other priorities around COVID that they have to focus on. So, COVID's really thrown a wrench into some of the stuff, but I believe once this is over next year, it'll shift, where they'll put more focus on the endpoints because they've already sort of built out the back end for users to connect to. So I see good things coming down the pike. So
you got it. Manoj, you were going to ask Jose a question. Was that answered, or?
Yeah, it was.
Do you have another one?
Oh man, you put me on the spot here. No,
truly a joke.
No, it's Jose and I talk quite a bit. So as we
we just talked last week.
We did, right? Yeah. And so you guys are still having conversations with a lot of customers that are looking to expand and deliver things in different ways. So I talk about Citrix every time I'm with customers that are looking at something new, but it's hard because Citrix is everywhere already. Right. The new conversations we have are typically around cloud, right? There a lot of the agencies that never even wanted to hear the word cloud are now entertaining it. So we talk about, hey, you have Citrix, you can just run Citrix in the cloud. And I believe, Jose, you guys just got your FedRAMP certification too, right?
That's any day now. So by the time that by the time this podcast actually is published, it will be. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's another huge checkbox, right? For these guys that want to take what they already know and love and put it in Azure or Amazon it's FedRAMP. So it's all good things.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I'm running into now, what I think is a really good point. So, the different agencies can be kind of can be very different in their approach to into their approach to IT. So, there's some agencies that have embraced cloud technology super early, and continue to do things in cloud and really are very mature in cloud technology. And then you have other agencies, and they have very good reasons for this, but there's other government agencies that are very resistant to cloud technology for one reason or another. And when you actually sit down and talk to them and ask them the reasons why, hey, why are you not looking at cloud? They typically have some really good thoughts behind it, right? But some of those customers are actually starting to have that cloud conversation. Like just last week, I was having a conversation with one of my customers that, cloud was a dirty word to them, right? Something that they weren't even considering, something that they just never in a million years would happen. And now they want to talk about, okay, well, we want to migrate these components of our infrastructure to the cloud. How does Citrix fit into the picture? How do we do VDI in the cloud, right? And that's where Citrix Cloud for Government kind of comes into play. So yeah, so it's this whole thing has really made people rethink things. So, and I think, so one of the issues that one of my other customers was having was when the whole COVID-19 thing started happening was they already had Citrix, but they wanted to expand their licenses. On the hardware side, they needed to procure additional hardware. They needed to, once they had it in, they needed to rack it, stack it, configure it, right? Go through all that process before Citrix could even be installed on it. So I think what's happened, and I think why the attitude has changed there, is now they're saying, oh my God, if we need to scale and scale quickly, we need to adopt some sort of cloud within our environment. So I think that's what's driving that observation that you made, Manoj.
Yeah. On the DoD side, I don't believe they'll just throw things in the cloud. So it's a work in progress, right? But they are, like you said, they are looking at it as an option. Again, can't guarantee that they'll all end up there right away, but it's something that they were not interested in. Now they're showing some interest, so that's good.
Right.
And is COVID the reason they're showing interest, or is there other innovations that made that happen?
I think it's a combination. Would you say, Jose?
Yeah.
I think COVID kind of accelerated the fact that they should be thinking about it, right? But I think there's other innovations. But you can answer that from the Citrix side as well, right? Why the
from my perspective, from my personal experience with my customers that have kind of changed their tune, it really is COVID-19. Some of these agencies have recognized for a while that they needed to adopt cloud technology as part of their overall IT strategy, but they really haven't had a compelling event, and COVID-19 has become that compelling event. So from my perspective, it really comes down to scalability and being able to leverage the right technologies from the right cloud vendor, right? Whether it's Azure or AWS, GCP, whatever. But it really comes down to COVID-19 has been kind of like people have been splashed in the face by cold water, right? And now they realize, hey, you know what? We need to do this. We need to do something about it.
Right. And this is just us. This is just a question I have, and you give me your thoughts. And delivering a desktop, just a straight up desktop with some web-based stuff, that's pretty easy, right? Anyone can do that. They can run from Azure, Amazon, doesn't matter. So when I look at the federal government and some of these big agencies, they do have a lot of legacy applications that they connect to right now, right? And applications that store sensitive data that are on-prem. So I always wonder, okay, if you're going to deliver a desktop, what about that data? Because the old saying is that the data needs to sit somewhere close to the desktop, right? So that's questions that I have. Okay, how soon can some of these agencies put everything in the cloud, or can they make these homegrown apps and custom stuff, make it cloud ready so they can? So there's some questions around, just personally from me, right?
Yeah.
because I don't know how quickly they can take sensitive data, and put it in the cloud, right, without some security and things of that nature. So giving a desktop to somebody, if it's all web-based apps, I think that's pretty easy. But if there are custom things that these people have done, then just a question that I have. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. It may take a little while before that data can end up in the cloud, right? So it's sitting close to your desktop. Because performance at the end of the day, I think, is important, right? And the customer is going to be going from a physical machine to the cloud. You kind of want to maintain that performance parity, right? As long as the performance is bad, end users are going to complain, like, "Oh, give me my laptop back, or give me my desktop back because this performance is no good." So that's just questions that I have and to be determined. But I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
I think that's a great question. So what I'm seeing now is with the company or with the organizations, the agencies that are actually adopting cloud or have adopted cloud in one way or another. What I am seeing is that it's changing dramatically just how data centers are thought of within the federal government. So traditionally with government, like you have your data center, you have everything within the data center, everybody, regardless of where they're located, they're connecting to the data center. If you're in Dallas, guess what? You're connecting to a data center in Virginia, right? Like it doesn't matter, right? So now what's happening is with cloud is it's pulling the resources that traditionally have been on premises. It's pulling bits and pieces of that to these cloud platforms, right? So maybe, I'm going to take some of my file servers and I'm going to move those to Azure. I'm going to take, this line of business application, and I'm going to move this line of business application over to GCP or AWS. So I'm seeing just this big shift away from that centralization model that the traditional government data center has adopted to now we have data sprawl, right? And resource sprawl amongst many different locations, right? That the government necessarily is not hosting themselves. So now what happens is you have issues with security, right? That need to be addressed. There's issues with performance to the point that you were making, Manoj, that need to be addressed. And then there's issues with access, right? Like, okay, great, I have resources scattered all around, different resources everywhere, right? How do I get people to access those things? So from a Citrix perspective, I'm going to be a little bit greedy right now. So from a Citrix perspective, we help from a performance perspective. We have SD-WAN, right? So we can help optimize connectivity from the on-prem data center to the cloud. So that's one of the ways that we can help with optimization to help kind of reduce some of the latency concerns that you were talking about, Manoj. From a security perspective, there's a couple of things there that we do. So some agencies actually leverage Citrix as the one entry point for all cloud resources. So one of my customers, every single time you need to access any resource from any part of the network, you have to go through a Citrix application delivery controller. So we become the cloud access broker for cloud and data center resources. And then from an end user perspective, they are at least securing data from an end user perspective. Because everything's being kind of funneled through kind of Citrix as the single pane of glass, the agency can then ensure that only the devices that need access to the environment are accessing the environment, that only the people that need access to the resources are accessing the resources. And then we have monitoring on top of that provide that creates some sort of security profile for the user, so that way you're preventing exfiltration of data from happening. So there's a bunch of different things from a security perspective that we do there. And then the third thing is, that I mentioned was access, right? So I have resources everywhere. How do they do that? And the great thing is, and this is where Citrix is becoming a little bit more strategic, is where, our workspace can function as the single pane of glass for all applications. And I'm not just talking about virtualized Windows applications. Yeah, absolutely. That's been the core of what Citrix has done for a long time, but certainly virtualized Windows applications, virtualized Linux applications, but then also SaaS applications as well, and mobile applications. So what we're trying to do from a strategic perspective and even from a customer perspective, an end user shouldn't have to go to many different places to access all the different types of data that they need access to, right? They should be able to go to one-stop shop, and that's how we help with the access sort of challenge that we're seeing some of our customers are starting to have, because they're starting to adopt cloud technology, and they're coming into kind of this data center cloud sprawl, if you will, that they're having.
Yeah, consolidation, right? Makes it easy. So, yep. Perfect.
I love this. I'm really enjoying this. This is absolutely great. I'm just sitting back here as a listener, and you guys just keep on going. We'll change the topic into WVD in a little bit, but let's see. Anything else you guys want to chat about? This is absolutely great. It's great to be a guest or a listener.
In your own show?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. I need to do this more often. I get paid no matter what.
Yeah. Take a break, Doug. Take a break. We got this.
I was. So that's really great, guys. I couldn't, like I said, I don't understand a lot about the government. I think there's so many different, the government has different needs and really requirements, right, and regulations than what I'm so used to. And it's interesting to hear, guys that live and breathe this stuff, right? And it's just absolutely great. Do you both see this changing when we go back to the, first of all, do you think this is a new normal? Is this going to be the normal way of doing business, or do you think we'll get back to the way it was? And if so, or if not, what do you see the future of Citrix, IGEL in the government space? Yeah.
So
that's
I think
crystal ball, right?
So let me pop out my crystal ball real quick. So I think that things are kind of go back to pre-COVID-19. For a lot of folks. I think a lot of folks, humans being humans, we like human contact. Most of us do. Sorry, Doug. So some of us like.
I like human contact a lot. I just like working from home.
Yeah. So so I think I think there's some benefits from being in the office with people. There's the human benefits, and there's a bunch of reasons why it's positive for people to be working from the office. So I think a lot of folks are probably going to say, okay, great, pandemic's over. We've got a vaccine, and everybody come back into the office, right? So I think that's definitely going to happen for a lot of folks. I think, though, there's going to be some other folks that I think they've gotten their education about working from home. My take is there's been a lot of trepidation about letting large amounts of employees to work from home, just because how do you make sure they're still productive? How to make sure that they're still doing what they need to be doing for the agency or the organization. So I just think there's some cultural things that have kind of prevented telework from being a primary way that government works. I think this experience may have changed the minds of some of the folks that were a little hesitant to really adopt work from home or telework within government. So I think there's going to be some folks that are going to be like, okay, great, we saw this work for us, and it worked really, really well, and this is really a viable way of us continuing to support our mission. So I think Doug, I think we're going to see a mix of both, right? And it's really going to come down. It's going to be unique to that customer scenario. Manoj, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think it's. I echo exactly what you said. I see the same thing on our side as well. So, yeah, it's to be determined. It's to be determined, right?
Yeah.
It's to be determined.
Yeah.
And then again, I think I know the folks that I talk to. They love working from home, right? If they could do it going forward, that'd be great. However, I know on the secure side, those guys are going to all come back on the unsecure side, and it's still to be determined. But I think most people are going to end up coming back. As much as they like working from home, I don't know if that's going to be that it's going to happen right away. But to be determined, at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it makes total sense. That makes total sense. Let's flip gears and talk a bit about WVD, Citrix, and even IGEL. We have a nice WVD story also. But Citrix and Microsoft recently announced a partnership, enhanced partnership. Can you talk about that, Jose, and what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think most people that are listening to this podcast know that Citrix and Microsoft have had a relationship for 30 years
forever.
or so. Yeah, forever, right? So so us working with each other, partnering with each other is not a new concept to anybody. But this partnership's a little bit different than it's been in the past. Really, one of the focus areas is really around, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, it's around WVD. Right. So Citrix Cloud and Citrix Cloud for Government are now going to be the preferred digital platform for Microsoft customers. So if you're a Microsoft customer and you're interested in VDI, Microsoft is going to say, hey, why don't you talk to Citrix? Let me put you in touch with your Citrix rep. So that's what that means from that perspective. And then the other thing that's being enhanced a little bit more is just our product roadmap. We've always had some sort of interaction between product development groups, but now that's going to be the cadence is going to be increased. The focus is kind of renewed around optimization and integration specific of Microsoft services. So over the next few months and years, what you're going to start seeing is you're just going to start seeing a lot more integration between Microsoft and Citrix and just improving the end user experience, optimizing things, etc. You're going to see more and more of that over time. So that's kind of what the relationship that announcement kind of really meant.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll say the same thing sort of about IGEL. We've been pretty close in working relationship with Amazon and Microsoft as well, right? On their cloud workspaces and WVD side. So we have, from an IGEL perspective, we do have the protocols built in that will allow users to connect to workspaces from Amazon, or actually we're the only Linux OS that actually supports the Microsoft WVD client right now, right? So we're good on that end, right? So no matter which way the customer decides to go, we have a way to get them there, right, securely. So we've been working with them, and I know we'll continue to work with them as they improve protocols and whatever else they do to make sure that connection and the experience is good. So we're a good partner of both of them as well. Hey guys, I have a prior engagement I need to run to, so we need to do this again. This is fun.
Well, I enjoyed it, absolutely.
Up,
yeah, we'll definitely have you back.
Great, Manoj.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Well, you guys carry on, and let's do this again in a few weeks or whenever you're ready. There's more topics.
We'll do it good, as much as you. I'll bother the heck out of you there, Manoj.
You can bother me anytime, Doug.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on and having a good conversation with Jose.
You got it, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey,
be safe.
Talk to you later, Manoj.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay, Jose, it's just you and I, my friend. You ready for this?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Can you please tell me about Citrix Cloud? No, I'm joking. So with the government, most of us probably know what Citrix Cloud is. The folks out there, it's been around quite some, for a long time. So I don't think I need to ask that one. But since we're talking government today, the government, I can't imagine them being, there's probably many reasons why the cloud sort of scares them. You talked about some of this. Citrix Cloud, what is this like for the government? You guys also have a Citrix government cloud or cloud government, or what is this? Can you explain this?
Absolutely, yeah. And this gets a little confusing when we talk to customers. So Citrix has two primary cloud offerings. We have Citrix Cloud, which is the commercial type offering that we provide for our customers. And then we have our Citrix Cloud for Government, which is specifically created for government customers. So the reason, and there's a reason why we decided to split the two, and the primary reason is that government has some unique compliance needs that our commercial customers don't. So what we decided to do was, listen, let's create an offering that's specific to government, so that way there's no concerns from government when they try to adopt a service and try to consume the service. So that's why we split them up. And one of the requirements, and Manoj kind of talked about it when we kicked things off during the podcast earlier, is FedRAMP. So FedRAMP is really it's a purchasing requirement that government has whenever they want to purchase some sort of a cloud service. Our commercial offering does not have that. And so what we've had to do is we've had to make changes and tweaks to our Citrix Cloud technology, right, in order to meet FedRAMP needs. So that's another reason why we decided to split off into another government cloud. With that said, Citrix Cloud for Government has a subset of features that Citrix Cloud has. The primary feature that we provide through Citrix Cloud Government is the virtual apps and desktop service. So that's when I think of just government in general, and I think about the Citrix footprint that most of our customers have, most of our government customers today are leveraging VDI or virtual apps or whatever. So virtual apps and desktops. So the priority for us has been, okay, we do have customers that really do want to move into the cloud. How do we service them best? And so we prioritized when we built out Citrix Cloud for Government to make sure that we had a rock solid virtual apps and desktop service for government that actually met their compliance requirements. So right now, that's primarily what we have available. We do have Citrix Endpoint Management up there as well. That has not gone through the FedRAMP process as of yet, but that's next on the list. And over time, we're going to continue to add some of the services that are available in our commercial offering. We're going to add those over time to our government offering. But again, we want to make sure that we're doing right by our customers, and that we are meeting all of their compliance and security needs. So so that's why we kind of have to handle government a little bit differently, and that's why we have the two offerings.
Makes total sense. Well, Jose, those are the questions. I mean, Manoj asked everything I wanted to ask, to be honest with you, and even twice, two times more. But if you don't mind, I would like to ask you some other questions.
Yes, absolutely. I don't mind at
Perfect.
all.
Let's have a little bit of fun. So, with COVID and everything, it's sort of changed things, and we've had a lot of time to sit at home and play around and things like that, and check out technologies. What excites you nowadays about what's going on in this space? Is there anything that's that's cool that you see that you really enjoy?
Well, as far as new technology,
just anything in general,
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, not
Yeah.
like the new magazine out or Harry and Meghan, which actually I'm quite infatuated by, but it's a different story.
So I recently purchased an Oculus Rift S.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I've jumped on the VR bandwagon. One of my brothers has had one for a bit now, and I tried it at his house a while back. I was like, okay, this is kind of a neat experience, right? So that's kind of what that's the new toy that I'm playing with, right? I just got it probably about a month or so ago, and it's been interesting because there's some apps that are available in VR that really allow you to be social, right? So basically, you can be in a virtual world, talk to people in that virtual world, interact with them, watch movies with them, TV shows with them, stuff like that. So for somebody like me that, I'm kind of like you, Doug, like, I'm used to traveling and I'm used to meeting different people all the time. It's helped me kind of personally stay a little sane, right? Because I get some of that interaction that I normally don't get working from home all the time.
Interesting. And so, you're talking about, well, I guess I would say more the consumer side of it or more the
Right.
personal side of it, right?
Right.
Which is definitely, I think that's very interesting. I have not gone down that route of AR or VR yet. Maybe someday. Well, definitely someday, but maybe someday soon. I don't know. I have my hands full, I guess, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. What do you see the application for business? I know one of our guys, Frederick, he managed to get a VR VR headset to work via Citrix, through IGEL thin clients, and
Oh,
it
that's
was showing
awesome.
that up. Yeah, it was so cool, you
Oh,
know.
that is very cool. Very cool.
So, you know, I mean, hey, it's running on Citrix. What do you see the value add from a business perspective?
Yeah, so there's organizations that are already leveraging either VR or AR, right? Augmented reality in one way or another. So looking at the film industry, for example, I was watching one of the documentaries on Disney Plus on how they make the show The Mandalorian. And one of the things that's interesting to me is that when they, as part of the production of that show, they are leveraging virtual reality in order to pre-render scenes and experience scenes and how how things may or may not work when they go to actually film the thing. So we're seeing some of that stuff in film. We are seeing VR actually being leveraged as a way to train employees as well. I was reading the other night that about 80% of the information presented to a user as part of a training exercise through virtual reality is about 80% of that information is retained, compared to some really low number for folks that are trying to learn the traditional way. They're just listening to audio or they're just watching a video, just simply because it's more immersive. Also, from a business perspective, there's organizations have been playing around with virtual reality in order to have potential customers experience their service or their product without them actually having to go to somewhere specific, or without them necessarily having to have that product in front of them, right? So for example, let's say, and I'm not saying that Tesla does this, but let's say you wanted to buy a new Tesla. Sure, you can go on the website, do your custom order right on the website, and you can view kind of that little picture, that you can kind of interact with it or whatever. But just imagine taking that experience into virtual reality. Now you can kind of see the car, you can kind of walk around the car, you can get into the vehicle, you can interact with some of the different components within the vehicle. So now you took a 2D experience where, I'm sitting in front of a monitor and I'm kind of I get the general idea of what a Tesla looks like, when the experience of a Tesla may be like. But now I can throw on my virtual reality headset as a consumer, and I can actually experience the Tesla without having to go anywhere. So I think there's some interesting, potentially applicable kind of use cases for business, kind of along those lines, right? Putting products in front of customers without them actually having the product in front of them. So I think there's some interesting things that we're going to see as the technology gets cheaper, right, and the barrier to entry gets lower, and the technology gets better, increases over time. I think we're going to see probably more and more of that. And then there's augmented reality. I know that from an augmented reality perspective, I know that there's some organizations, what they're doing is they're leveraging AR to from a kind of manufacturing sort of a perspective, where you have folks that need to put components together, right? They may not necessarily know how to put them together. With AR, AR can actually guide them and walk them through that process as they're doing it. So you can actually help improve productivity. So folks that, and there was another study that I was reading that said that about folks that leverage AR for those sort of tasks actually increase productivity anywhere between 20 to 30%. So there are some compelling business cases from my perspective for VR and AR in business.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that it'll, well, in the new normal, it could change everything, right?
Yeah.
If we can actually get together, I would like that, virtual reality meetings more so than sitting here watching people on Zoom. But
yeah, just imagine doing your podcast through VR, right? We can see each other, we can interact with each other a little bit, right?
I'd harass you way too much, Jose.
I don't mind.
It'd be a whole different experience. I'd throw stuff at you. You'd be jumping, So that would be cool, though, and it's a serious aspect, to be serious about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the implications are pretty wide ranging. Imagine, you wanted to get you need to get some, talk to a counselor or something. Right now, the way that people are doing it are through their phone now, right? Or through Zoom, like you were just saying. It's a more personal experience where you're occupying a virtual space with somebody. So, some of the stuff it's not in the immediate, right? Some of the stuff is, big pie in the sky stuff that could potentially happen at some point in the future. But the implications I think the implications are real, and I think the implications are pretty compelling.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's not something. Well, I don't know. It intrigues me. I haven't gone down that path. I feel like I'm too old nowadays for some of this stuff. I like my keyboard. I like my mouse. I like my multiple monitors.
Right.
I do have an iPad with a bridge keyboard, which the touchpad and everything. I really like that, but I never use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a really expensive toy. But I think it's cool. But I can't use it. And it's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't, right? I'm stuck in my old way of doing things. So, I think I'd probably be one of the last adopters of that. But I think it's really neat, and I am jealous. I would enjoy it. That's cool.
So what are you, so you talk to a lot of people, and I know that you see a lot of stuff out there. What do you find interesting? Like anything that you're seeing these days that kind of jumps at you?
That's a good question. Not really. I think right now, I mean, the cloud stuff is quite interesting. I mean, I'm spending all my time nowadays on the building a community, right? Which I really enjoy. And what gets me about the community is I moved far away from the tech business in the sense of I'm not hands-on, building and stuff like that, but I am building something. I'm just building different. And what's so neat to me is the interaction between the people. It's the conversations between the people. It's that they're leaving happier. They're leaving more, smarter and more fulfilled, right? And this is what's really what really makes me excited today more than anything else. Because I went through that experience, right? Now I get to bring that, so to speak, to other people and do it myself, right? Have it done my way, which I was able to basically look at, the way the Citrix community was sort of born and raised, so to speak. We just announced an awards program. I was part of the CTPs and MVPs and V-Experts and all that, and sort of try to take some of the best of that. I don't know if I do it if I'm doing it right or not. But that's what intrigues me now, is sort of the psychology of helping people more than anything else.
I have to commend you and congratulate you on the fantastic job that you've done on building out that community. I mean, there was the community. I think IGEL has always had its fans, right? But you really kind of organized the community, and you were able to grow it, and the community is really providing some great value. Just before I joined Citrix, I was doing a little bit of consulting.
Sure.
And
I remember that.
Yep. And I was leveraging the Slack channel, right? And I was asking questions and stuff like that. And honestly, I mean, it really, from a personal perspective, it really helped me a lot. It was a really, really superb and useful resource for me. So, I think
community, I appreciate that dearly. I think community is a lot like podcasting in some ways. And what I mean by that is, I've always said, sometimes my job is to get out of the way when I'm interviewing. It's like you and Manoj were having a great conversation. Let me just take a step back and let that unfold, right? And more or less facilitate it. No, don't try to manage it. Don't try to control it. Let it happen, right? And it's been really great to work for Jet Airs, because he understands that, and he wanted that to happen. He's like, do this. Okay, do you know what this means? Well, I know the benefits of it. Just make it happen, right? And he didn't get in the way. He didn't try to manage it. He didn't try to control it. He didn't try to market to it. He didn't try to, he let it unfold. And I think, I get a lot of credit for the IGEL community. It's always nice to hear nice things, of course, but I think it's the people that's done it, right? And I think there's 4 ingredients to building a community. This is sort of Doug's law, so to speak, and that is, first of all, you need the right platform, and we picked Slack. We finally came upon Slack, and that was a great platform for us. And it really worked because we brought the community to the people, not the people to the community.
Yep.
Right. And the second one is, and you mentioned it, passionate partners and customers. You know, Citrix has, the big boys have that, right? Because, you know, they've been in business a long time. They have a lot to choose from. You can find the passionate ones, right?
Right.
IGEL had that even in the small, because our software is that great that the people who used it, they loved it, and they were able to grow with it. And that was that was, you know, the most important piece. The third component was passionate insiders. You know, the folks, finding a couple champions within the IGEL that could be in there, answer questions, talk with the folks, you know, be the techies, right? I'm not a techie anymore. I understand how to install IGEL, but I couldn't troubleshoot it, you know, the way they do, right? You know, that's not my job anymore, right? I miss those days in some ways, but like I said, I'm enjoying this part of my life, right?
Right.
And in the fourth ingredient is the one, the ingredient that every successful thing has, and that is luck, right? And you know, we have the seeds, we have the soil, we have the water, we have the fertilizer. You know, now does it grow, right? And we had the luck, and it's been phenomenal to watch. It's been really been. We have so much fun inside that, inside the community, chatting about absolutely nothing, or making fun of each other, or helping each other, right? And that's so to me, this is what I think about when I go to sleep, and I think about when I wake up in the morning. You know, what can we do to help these folks? And it's just so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and just you kind of leading the way, right? And you know, getting people together. You know, I think you've helped kind of create something, you know, that I think is really special, right?
I appreciate that, but again, I'll throw that back at, there's so many that lead the way. You know, there's so many. There's not, you know, it's not my community. It's our community, and I say it all the time. The only time I use the word "I" is if my ego's really big that day and I'm boasting, which is not that often because they get shot down pretty quick. But when I make a mistake. You know, I made this mistake. I goofed this up. I forgot to do this, right? I discounted this. You know, that's when I tend to use the word "I." But there's so many people in there. You know, we have a guy, Sebastian, one of our SEs. It's not his job to do a community, and he's answering, 800 questions a month or something. I mean,
that's incredible. That is incredible.
It's sick, and he just loves doing it. And this guy's not on social media. This guy's not a social person. You know, this guy came into the community sort of dragging his feet, going, I want to see what this is. And he was like, man, I love this. I get to chat with all these people from all over the world. I feel like I'm at a pub having a beer, shooting the shit about tech, you know?
That is so cool.
And I love that. And we have David Prowse, who's a VMware guy, a VMUG leader. And he's in there all the time having fun and answering, you know, helping each other, right? It's just so, it's so much fun. You know, it's so much fun. I posted on Twitter today. I just lit up Twitter by saying I sent out an email today to a couple hundred people, and I got a couple hundred out of offices. I was like, come on, how do you run a business this way when everyone takes vacation? It's like, get back to work, people. And people just started slamming me, you know. It's like, what do you mean? You know, we need our vacations. You know, you can't work all the time. And I was like, well, when work is fun, it's not vacation. You know, work is my vacation. I love Monday mornings, you know. when my wife goes out, I sit in my office. You know, there's always something fun to do, and I work off a task list. So I have this giant task list. And if I don't feel like doing a task, I do find a task that I want to do, right? There's always something you want to do. And if work gets to the point, and I read this great book by the guy that started up Zappos, and I forget the name of the book, something happiness. And if you wake up in the morning so many times, Steve Jobs said this in his commencement speech, if you wake up in the morning so many times thinking, I don't want to do this, stop doing it.
Right.
And I haven't, there's people that piss me off just like anybody, right?
Sure.
But I love what I do. I do. And I get to talk with folks like you, right?
And I know that's genuine. I mean, you're a very genuine person. You've got great energy.
What is this? Now kiss Doug's ass now?
No, every single time that we get together, you know, it's just I can just tell, man, that you just love what you do. So
come on,
for
we're all
real.
blessed in this industry.
Yeah.
The Citrix space, and I call it the Citrix space. I always have. I mean, I came from the Citrix space, but the Microsoft, even Microsoft, where we, if you look at WVD, what is it? It's running Citrix technology, right?
Yeah. Right.
VMware, what's it doing? Running Citrix technology. Multi-win is Citrix technology, right?
Right.
And all of us at one point, at least the old folks, we came from the Citrix space. There was no Microsoft in those days in the remoting world, right?
Right.
But we have really great folks. You go to Synergy. I miss Synergy so much this year.
Oh my God, me too.
And I don't care about the sessions. I don't care about. I care about hanging out at the pub and seeing all you guys.
People,
I don't even care about drinking. I just care about seeing you.
Yep.
That's the piece I miss. That's what you don't get in your office. When I was at Synergy, I was sick as a dog at Summit this year, and you came up and I chatted with you for a little bit. And that's where we have the best community in the world in the Citrix space. There's some of the coolest technology. We're cutting edge. Work from home comes, boom, Citrix to the rescue, right? And again, be that Microsoft, VMware, Citrix, it's Citrix technology to the rescue.
Right. Exactly. And, exactly.
That's cool. Excuse my language. That's cool shit, man. That's cool shit.
It totally is.
That's at the end of the day, that's cool stuff. You can't ask for anything more. Well, you know what? You guys had such a great conversation. You threw me off my game. I don't really know what else to ask you, but anything work related. So I think we'll call it an episode. We chatted for a long time, and it's always a pleasure. We'll bring you back on, and we'll chat about some other stuff. We have to do it more often because every time I enjoy you, Jose.
Me too.
Favorites. So, and I'm genuine, so I mean that.
I know you mean it.
You got it, man. Okay, well, congrats on the promotion. That's really, really awesome.
Appreciate that.
Hopefully they gave you a bunch of stock options. You don't answer that question.
I'm keeping that to myself.
I did. I was a Citrix employee many, many years ago, and when I started, the company was still on the downslide because of the .com boom and all that stuff.
Right.
Citrix's fault, and my strike price was, I think, $36, which if I would have kept all this stock, I would have made a lot of money. And,
you would have.
Yeah, it would have been great, right? But I didn't do that because when I got promoted, the company was at $5 a share.
Wow! Holy cow!
Can you believe that?
Don't
you wish you would have bought boatloads of that stock?
Oh my God! Yes.
So and when I left, I think we're at 16 or 15 or something like that. And even then, I should have bought a bunch of it, right? Jeez. But I walked away. I was there 3 years, and I walked away with all my stock on the table. I sold what I was vested into and walked away with and threw the rest away, so to speak. But
if only time travel was possible.
Yeah, but when I got promoted to 5, they gave me a bunch of shares, and that's what paid to start up DABCC, to be honest with you. So
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're fun days, man. Citrix. I'll leave you on this note, and I think I might have told you this when you joined the company, but when I joined the company, there was my boss. His name was Arvelo, and Arlo's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet in life, and he was the Zen master, and that's no reference to Zen. Hypervisor or anything, and he I was joked with him, I want your autograph, Arlo, I want your autograph, and he's like, he just laugh at me, right? And then he told me one day, he said, if you meet the Buddha in the road, kill it. I was like, what's that mean? He goes, whatever you think, it doesn't mean kill anybody, Doug. Okay. So
oh my God.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys think about what that one means. Don't Google it. So just think about it. But when he left the company, he left me a box of shrink WinFrame 1.7 still in shrink wrap, and that's where I really cut my teeth. That was the first deployment I did was 1.7, and on the outside it said, "May Citrix enrich your life for years to come." Arlo Pranius, employee 398, and I've always said Citrix enriched my life for a lifetime. So Arlo, you were wrong. It was a lifetime. So I'm so glad you're there, and I know it'll enrich your life for a lifetime.
I appreciate that, and that's a great story.
Yeah, like that. So believe it or not, I still have that box. I haven't taken it to Germany yet because when I move it, a little bit of the Sharpie on the outside of the shrink wrap wears off. So whenever I move, it always sits on the front seat of my car. Yeah. And I drive it. It's like the last thing out of my place that I moved, right? I don't give it to the moving companies. I take it over by hand. It's like the trophy, the World Series trophies from Yankee Stadium, one to another, and the 27 of them, and that's all of my Dodger fans. And stuff there. Okay, we're just rambling, but that's what we do. Thank you so much, Jose. You take care.
Thank you,
God
Doug.
bless you, and stay well, my friend.
Likewise.
Yep. Okay, so that concludes another episode of DABCC Radio. As I always say, thank you so much to my guests, Manoj and Jose. Just so much fun. I love these guys, and it's just a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I tried to get out of the way. Maybe I was in the way a little bit too much, just sort of let those guys do their thing. It's interesting to see how different the government is from business, and at the same time, traditional business or outside business, non-government business, and at the same time, how much the same it is too. So, what do I say? But thank you all for listening to DABCC Radio. If you like the show, please tell a friend. If you don't, well, let me know why. Maybe you'd say, hey, get out of the way a little bit more and let these guys talk. Well, I won't disagree with that. But, what do I say? So thank you all for listening to DABCC Radio.
C.
DABC.
Say it again. DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again? DABCC.
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.